Well, hello and welcome back to Car and Bike. I'm Bilal and today we have a very special video for you. Because you see, the luxury SUVs, they are all the rage these days. And if you are in the market to get yourself a luxury premium SUV, you might have come across names such as the GL followed by a C, or the third of the X or the fifth of the Q, or even the 60th power of the XC. But say, what if you are a person who doesn't do mainstream? You're a person who would rather ditch a Bollywood flick for an indie gem. Or for your coffee, you prefer a boutique cafe rather than a big coffee chain. Because you're a person who wants something with a personality, or you want something with a story to tell. So I've got two cars for you here today. And these two cars, they have one thing in common, that they aren't mainstream. But they have very different personalities from each other. And that's why I'm telling you, this is not a comparison. Not a comparison. But if you are in the market to buy a luxury SUV with a price tag of say 70 lakh rupees, the first car that I've got for you is this. This is the Mercedes-Benz EQB, and it has received a model year update. It has gone under the radar for almost 2 years. And now the other one that joins it is this. This is the Lexus NX. Now I am pretty sure that you weren't even aware that the NX has been on sale in India for again almost 2 years. I repeat again that this video is not a comparison between these two cars, but I'm here to help you choose a car which is slightly offbeat and far away from the mainstream offerings. But before we begin this video, let me remind you to like, share and subscribe to the Car and Bike YouTube channel and hit that bell icon as well, so that you can be reminded every time we upload a new video, especially if it's a special video such as this. Now let me start by telling you why you should consider the EQB as your first choice. Now, as the EQB's name suggests, it is part of Mercedes' ever-growing EQ lineup. It was one of the first ones to arrive, and as it's based on the GLB, this one too has a 3-row setting. Now, in fact, it was one of the first cars to offer a 3-row seating in an electric offering. Now with the modular update, it gets a newer entry-level variant with a longer range single motor setup. The bigger variant, on the other hand, which we have here, has not only received a sportier AMG treatment, but now loses its third row seating and comes as a 5-seater offering, which is India specific only. This EQB 350 that we have here has around 288 horsepower and 520 Newton meter and a claim range of over 440 kilometers under WLTP, which is quite achievable in the real world conditions. Now, the first reason why you should consider buying the EQB is obviously its EV powertrain. Because as we know, with EVs, there's no vibrations, no frequent and expensive fuel stops, and obviously zero tailpipe emissions. Because we know that the per kilometer cost of an EV is much less compared to an equivalent petrol or diesel vehicle. And with this, if you have a city confined commutes with fixed journeys, you can consider this as your most sensible choice. And with a decently large range, it can also double up as a weekend getaway for your family. Now, secondly, I admit the third row isn't very spacious for a full-grown adult in the EQB. But when it came out, the EQB was the only 3-row EV on sale at the time. Now there's more expensive EQS that offers a 3-row seating in an EV space, apart from the BYD E-Max 7 that's more affordable MPV. Now with this update, the EQB is also available with a 5-seater option in a more expensive trim. This means that the not so practical third row, it has been traded off for a much larger boot space, which will surely be usable, especially for that family outings. Now the EQB might not be pulling a lot of heartstrings, but it is a proper Mercedes, which means it is well built, it is good to drive as well, there's a lot of features on offer and a practical cabin if not very spacious. And with a decently long range, as I mentioned before, it can be your perfect urban car for your urban family. Now, after looking at the reasons why you should buy the EQB, let's take a look at the reasons why you shouldn't. Now, the first reason is that this, I admit, is not a born EV. So all the benefits that usually comes with the born EV platform, that's completely absent over here. So the cabin, it doesn't offer a lot of space for an EV. Secondly, this entire cabin is a generation old, because all the current gen Mercedes models, they have received one of the two design layout that is seen in all the modern cars, which is the one seen in the S-Class or in the EQ lineup. This entire cabin, it's pretty old. Not only that, it has also eliminated the good old trackpad to control the touchscreen, and the touchscreen, it's too small for a modern EV. In fact, I don't believe that this entire cabin layout, it belongs to the same family of cars that gives you the hyper screen. For a family SUV, the ride quality is a bit too stiff, and it isn't helped by the 19-inch AMG alloy wheels or the comparatively low ground clearance, which means that over bad roads, you will be more cautious than when you are balancing a tray of mom's best china. Now, this third reason isn't exactly an EQB limitation, but that of its EV powertrain. Because you see, the EV adoption isn't as fast-paced as we initially expected it to be. And even today, the EV charging infrastructure is it leaves you wanting for more, especially outside the tier 1 metropolitan cities. So if you are lucky enough to have a fixed commute, a home charger would suffice. But for anything else, the EV, it definitely needs a lot of planning, especially for those spontaneous trips. Now, after the EQB, let us turn our focus towards the NX and see why you should buy this one and why you shouldn't. Now, as I mentioned, the limitation of the EQB, that's its EV powertrain, and that's where this one comes in, because the NX, it's a proper hybrid. Not your knuckly mild hybrid, but a proper Japanese hybrid that's been on this planet more than I have. And more than that, apart from its heart, is the design that attracts the most attention. Because don't you admit that this is one of the handsomest looking car, especially in its segment? Now, as I mentioned earlier, the NX isn't exactly a new car, because this one in its latest avatar has been around for a couple of years now. But part of boosting the sales, Lexus got this Overtrail edition in India, and that's what we have here. It's got cosmetic upgrades to make it a bit more outdoorsy, including this paint and some additional black cladding all around, as well as an all-black interior. But you should get the NX in one of its many bright shades. Apart from that, even the cabin is much more modern, and it's a very rare thing to say these days about the modern day cars, but this one, it's a very artsy cabin. Lexus being a Japanese brand, the cabin is inspired by Tazuna, which in their terms is communication between driver and the car. In literal term, it means rein of a horse. But let's keep that aside and take a few moments out and admire this quite elegantly designed cabin. And as for the powertrain, it's a hybrid, which means there's efficiency, making it lighter on your pocket as well. But also no worries of finding a charging station. Now, the first reason why you should consider buying the NX over its counterparts is, of course, its hybrid powertrain. Because as I mentioned earlier, this Toyota Lexus hybrid powertrain, it's been in service in many cars across the globe, which means it's safe, it's reliable, it's also easy on your pocket. It might be a bit mechanical and soulless because it's not a very fun to drive car, but it is a very good family car. Easy to drive, the transition between the electric EV powertrain and the ICE powertrain, it's seamless, and it's also very fuel efficient because Lexus claims its real world mileage can be as close as 17 kmpl. Secondly, although cosmetic, the rugged appeal of this Overtrail edition does give the otherwise very chic NX a very alfresco appeal. But more importantly, this one is also a very feature-loaded car, especially for this highly competitive segment. Now thirdly, Unlike its other rivals in the segment, the NX, it's a very rare sight. Since it's not very frequently seen on the road, it's also very exclusive. So when it actually goes out on the road, it demands attention. Firstly, because how good it looks, and secondly, because, as I said, it's a very rare sight. So if it's exclusivity you want, you cannot go wrong with this NX. Now, of the things why you should stay away from the NX is firstly its driving dynamics. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the powertrain isn't very exciting to drive. It might be efficient, safe and reliable, but as a driver's car, the NX doesn't cut it. And there are really good options if you want a driver's car, especially at this price point. So if you are someone who takes the wheel more often than expected, the NX might actually bore you a bit. Now, the second reason why you should stay away from the NX is, like the EQB, it has been around for quite long than you actually know. So it is in a need of an update. Now, don't get me wrong, it has aged like a fine wine. But the modern day buyers, they want a bit of an oomph from their car. The NX, it has that, but not exactly one that the modern day buyers are looking for. Now, for all its design and styling, the cabin of the NX, it's not as spacious as you would expect it to be for such a large car, and especially when compared to other cars in this segment. Sure, the front row, it looks large and spacious. The boot space at the back, it's cavernous. But here in the second row, the space, it will definitely leave you wanting for more, especially here in this all-black cabin. So after taking a look at the reasons to buy and not to buy both the EQB and the NX, let's sum it up. So if you are in a market to buy yourself a luxury SUV with a price of around 70 lakh rupees, and you want something which is not as common as aloo in our Indian cuisine, which one of the two should you buy? The EQB, it offers you emission-free driving that's also lighter on your pocket. A proper Mercedes packaging that's practical and well built with all the features as well. And a tree-hugging bragging rights too. But if you think EVs aren't for you, you can take a look at the NX. It gets you a proven hybrid powertrain that's both reliable and efficient. Moreover, the styling of the NX will give you all the necessary attention as well. And lastly, it's comfortable as well as reliable. And finally, our dear viewers, I'm pretty sure you might have noticed it by now that both the cars that we have here, they have a 350 in their name. And at the end of the day, both the EQB and the NX, they both come across as brilliant offbeat alternatives in their segment. And no matter which one you decide to put your money on, you cannot go wrong with either of them. But which one you, our dear viewers, would like to buy between these two cars, let us know in the comment section below. And I hope you like this format of comparing, or exactly not comparing, two different cars. And if you did like this format, do write them down in the comments. And if you want any other cars compared in similar way, let us know as well, and we will happily oblige. That's all from me in this video. Hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit that like button and share this video forward to your friends and family as well. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.